Greetings, greetings, greetings. This is Revere Sky, Revere Sky's Essence. Let's talk about it. So, the title of this subject is about the artificial winter and the amphibian and collard green factor. Say it again, Revere Sky. Artificial winter and the amphibian and collard green factor. Why am I talking about this? Forever, I've explained in the Hebrew language that spring is a natural word, spring is an earthly word, summer is an earthly word, and autumn is an earthly word. Then when you type in winter, it's not an earthly word, okay? So, from my perspective, winter is artificial. So why do they use winter? They use winter is because they messed up the ecosystem of the planet. And the ecosystem used to be misty in a halo or twilight. Same way the African guy over there talks about it. You barely could see the sun. It was a mist or a halo. So let me give you an example. So the technology that they're spraying in the air, right? The technology that they're spraying in the air is supposed to be just like what water or mist or condensation or fog would do to protect you from the sun. The indigenous kinky-haired people, right? The indigenous kinky-haired people like myself need mist, need moisture at all times. Why you think so many people with kinky hair feel like they're missing an attribute to their hair? They know their hair kinky. They know that it's frizzy. But when we wet our hair, it's luxuriously soft, damp, wet. Like an amphibian type nature, right? So let's talk about this. These nuclear winters and these nuclear winters are not, they are the replacement for how this planet was indigenously. So why do they want to drive the planet? They want to drive the planet because they have to harvest the resources. They have to mine the resources. So if everything is damp and moist, they can't mine the resources, right? Not only do they want to mine the resources, why do they not want things to be damp and wet? They don't want things to be damp and wet because then you won't be able to live in these houses. You would have to deal with mildew, mold. You could not use sheetrock in a damp, moist environment. Research how Amazonians, people in the Philippine rainforest and stuff, research how these people actually live in moist, wet environments. There's no such thing as using sheetrock and a bunch of wood. Okay, you can use wet logs. You can use wet trees, living things, but you don't actually use stuff that can absorb moisture, right? Okay, you can use cement. Not only that, now the collard green effect. I kept saying, damn, all the indigenous greens of North America thrive in the cold. Mustards, arugula, kale, collards, turnips, beets, you name it. They thrive in the cold, right? But are they actually thriving in the cold or are they actually surviving in the cold? Because if these vegetables had to choose winter or summer, they're going to choose winter. Why? Because the heat cannot penetrate like it does in the summer. Do you know you could grow summer collard greens and stuff if you keep them in a shaded area? And if you live in a dewy environment where the dew can hit them every day, you can grow beautiful summer collard greens that are not tough and that are not fibrous. Okay? Say it again, Revere Sky. If you put collard greens and cabbage in a shaded area, it can thrive. It can grow in the spring and summer just as if it was winter. Okay? Without becoming fibrous and without seeding. Now, if we're going to reverse the roles on this nuclear winter, imagine if there was a twilight, a halo, that the planet was full of mist 24 hours a day. And at night, when the sun went down, the moon came up and the mist fell. And the moon did what it had to do to make the plants, the nightshade plants and stuff grow, right? That's another ecosystem. So this artificial nuclear winter is trying to replace what once was. And that was a misty fog halo in the daytime. The water used to protect us from the sun. And not only that, we need our amphibian traits. The reason why we need our amphibian traits is because absorbing moisture through our biggest organ on the body. So just imagine if it was foggy and dewy and warm every day. Precipitation, condensation. Just imagine if this was going on every day, right? Do you know how electrified we would be? Just imagine if the planet was sweating every day. Your hair stayed moist. Your skin stayed moist. You didn't dry out. You was like a frog, like a slippery frog, right? A home messes that up. And a home messes that amphibian trait up. We're supposed to be amphibian-like, moist. But they needed to dam up the planet to counteract with the ecosystem so that the planet chi and prana cannot flow properly. So it can be under control. Imagine if the sun was up every day and the moon was out every day and moisture was thriving, water was thriving, the essence of the water and the hydrogen and all the energy of the planet was thriving. They wouldn't be able to control nature. Nature would spring up. Why do you think where they chop down the biggest trees, it's a desert now? Because they know if water hit that area, the essence of that area would come back to life. They're not done digging. Not only that, I could say several years back, we used to talk about how they were stealing the gold from this planet to protect Nibiru, right? So by them stealing the gold from this planet to protect Nibiru, they come back with nanotechnology and fairy dust to protect us from so they stripped us of our ecosystem and decided we don't care if we suffocate them. We're going to spray this type of technology over their head. But why didn't they use the nanoparticles and the dust, the fairy dust, in Nibiru? You know how they say they use our gold from our planet to put it on an outer layer of their planet to protect them? But they come around and they give us some artificial nanotechnology, fiberglass, type air particle and cover our atmosphere? Why they couldn't use that particle in their atmosphere? Why they couldn't use that chemical in their atmosphere? Why did they have to use our gold? They wanted to use something that wasn't going to dumb them down, that wasn't going to compromise their oxygen, their energy, their chi, their prana. So they used our gold, right? But when it comes down to us being utilizing our ecosystem, they want to give us some false chemical, spraying it, which coincides with the nuclear winter, which coincides with the HARP and the technology. I do not understand why we don't see it. We get stripped of our resources. The water gets dammed up. It's not moving in its natural flow or pattern. Just imagine if your arteries get dammed up with fat or something and they're not flowing properly. Your body is not going to flow properly. So when you need to connect with nature and connect with the things around you, you're not going to properly get the right information. It may be misinformation. Okay? So this is the collard green factor. This is the amphibian factor. And I will find that video and show it where spring, autumn, and summer are earthly words in the Hebrew language, whereas winter is artificial, it is man-made. And it's just surprisingly how they would rather dam up the planet, destroy the planet and its ecosystem to mine resources versus allowing the ecosystem to thrive. Because if the ecosystem thrives in its natural environment, they won't exist. Everything about what these people are doing are going against us as the indigenous people. Meaning our creator who created the matrix for our vessel to thrive a certain way, it's not thriving that way. We are amphibian-like creatures. If we was in a warm, moist environment where the sun penetrated through an ambient light, through a halo type light, you wouldn't believe what plants would thrive. Just like we have plants that need so many cold hours, they may not need that many cold hours. They may need less sunlight hours. Instead of having the sun beat them down and they have to submit. You know how they say don't water plants in the daytime, which is true, because it will cook the roots from the heat. But that tree or that plant submits. It just fall over in the sunlight, right? And then at night it springs back up with the moonlight, right? And moisture and the coolness, right? It's not that these plants need that many cold hours. These plants need a lack of direct sunlight. That's right. So they're rather use a artificial fog. They would rather use an artificial fog that they spray like aerosol than allow us to have a moist ecosystem. Because if we have a moist ecosystem, we wouldn't be able to live like this. We would have to be in brick and mortar homes. We would have to be damn near barefoot. You don't want moisture in shoes. You would have to live a whole new lifestyles. These cars would be rusty. Metal wouldn't exist. You wouldn't even have metal because all your palaces, what would you have to use to live? You would need gold. You would need gold furniture. You would need gold. You would need things that were not soluble to water. that don't alchemicalize to water. You would have gold palaces. You would have gold everything because it's a water planet. You would have everything wrapped in gold so that it would not rust, so that it would not break down. I just thought I would get that out. This is about us knowing our amphibian traits, the collard green factor. Okay? You need to know this. You need to know the collard green factor and the amphibian factor, okay? You need to know about the artificial winter as well. And then what makes it bad, have you noticed when you're in an inner city and it's cold, it's bone chilling, meaning you could be in the heat and warm, but it seems like there's something sinking into your bones. Those are weapons. Those are high-grade military inner city weapons used to keep an area at a certain vibration, keep a certain species at a certain vibration. I could go all across the world, and as long as I'm not in an inner city, I do not have bone-chilling pain go through my bones. They have found a way to prefabricate nuclear winters without actually blowing up something to cause winter. And you never know, like these snow countries be having testing sites all the time with weapons. And that nuclear radiation, they may do it heavier in the late fall because we don't have a winter. In the late fall, early spring, they may be hitting them nuclear testing sites. And once they hit them nuclear testing sites, they actually start turning on those frequencies that interfere with our growth and our spiritual growth and our connectedness to nature and the celestial side of our existence, okay, and the interstellar side of our existence. So while we're supposed to be resting and thriving and being interlocked, they're completely jamming our frequency through dreams, through weapons, through military grade weapons. And it's just like, you're not tired of this? You think this shit is normal? That when winter come, you're in pain. When winter come, you're trying to protect yourself like you're in a bug out situation. When winter come, there's a bunch of problems. We're literally under attack. And if we don't realize during winter we're under attack, you got another thing coming. We are amphibian beings. We thrive in water. Winter dries us out. It dehydrates us. It causes us to get really, really ashy. It causes us to get really, really dry. It causes us to lose all the water and content in us. Have you noticed when it's really cold, you lose the ring size? I remember I was telling this guy in California, I was like, oh my God, I'm so cold. I'm so cold. He didn't believe me. And I started shaking my hand and all my rings just slipped off my fingers. Why would your rings slip off your fingers? Your rings slip off your fingers because the water content is leaving your body. That's right. Not only that, look at the collard green method again. Look at the collard green factor. If collard greens were in a dewy, misty, foggy, twilight environment, meaning it was just misty. So whenever the sun comes up, it's a bunch of fog, it's a bunch of mist, like you're at the top of a mountain, right? All the time, all day. The sun never really touches that's how much water they stole. That's how much water they storage. Say it again, Revere Sky. This is how much water and how much water they diverted, they stole, they storaged it to the point where we don't have twilights like that. You know how they say the clouds at night, the clouds come down to the ground and then the sun picks them back up and the clouds go back up in the sky. Let me tell you something. This was 24/7. This was 24/7. Understand we have certain enzymes and certain effervescence, glowy. Effervescence means bubbly, but glowy things that don't exist no more. Like we got certain types of waters and certain types of enzymes that used to glow all the time. But because they don't have the natural water content and the natural chemicals they need to thrive, and it's dry so long, it dried them out and they never came back. So we had like this pixel ethereal glow everywhere, right? And with this pixel ethereal glow everywhere, that was due to the level of moisture content on the planet. But since they dammed up all the water, which messed up the chi and prana, and they actually stored all the water, which caused certain environments and certain ecosystems in certain areas to lose attributes that were vital. They needed the water to flow, the mist to be there. So the sun actually destroyed and dried out those enzymes and that natural ether and that natural glow in that area. So when you want to see certain particles like lightning bugs, if you notice now lightning bugs like higher environments. Like lightning bugs should be all over, fireflies should be all over Florida, right? But they're not. They're more towards higher elevation, moist environments where it gets cooler and colder in the winter because they're trying to protect themselves from the environments that were beat down by the sun. So now they only thrive in higher elevation, cooler, and moisture environments. But just imagine if we still had the same 80, 90 degree temperature, but just moist with protection. Our shield did not used to be aerosol spray in the sky. Our shield used to be moist water. Okay? These blue skies and these beautiful clouds that we like to see that we call paradise is not real. The real deal is moist and mist. You in a jungle-like environment, as you can see the cactus and the palmetto trees go all the way to New York. So if you got the tropical environment that you need, you don't need winter. That's why winter is artificial. I could go on and on and on. Just know artificial winter, the amphibian factor, and the collard green factor, okay? You got to know this. And know being in the snow and being in the cold takes you away from your nature. And the reason why I brought up the amphibian factor is because it coincides with the halo, the twilight, the mist, the fog. You know how California Bay, North Bay, South Bay, how the Bay Area and them thrive? They thrive off fog. How those pretty plants, those indigenous plants on there, them wild plants that they can't get rid of near the ocean thrive because of the fog. The fog is their rain. The fog is their moisture. But as you get inner city 50 miles east and go further, like head into Arizona, you don't have that fog no more. So the plants are not thriving. Back to this amphibian thing. How I came up with the amphibian factor to coincide with the collard green factor is because a lot of frogs somehow end up inside the house. I don't know how they come in the house, but they dry up, they dehydrate, right? And I said to myself, is the home doing me any justice, or do I need to really be sleeping outside? Do I really need to be sleeping in an eco-friendly environment? Do I really need to be allowing the planet to actually work with my vessel wholeheartedly? Do I really need this mud hut? Because I'm to the point now, I think I need this mud hut more than I need the home. Because the reason why you need these artificial homes is because you're living in an artificial environment. But if you want to live in a natural environment and you want your body to stay protected, you live in mud huts. You live in hemp houses. That's right. You stay in the elements. But since they want to have artificial winter, we have to live in artificial homes to protect ourselves from the conditioning. That's right, that bone chilling factor. Okay? That bone chilling factor when you say, oh, it's about to rain, my ankle hurt. Oh, it's about to rain, my heel of my foot hurt. Oh, it's about to rain, the arthritis in my body starting to hurt. That is not arthritis. That is somebody just turned on a weapon or a frequency, and your body is trying to let you know, suit them up and boot them up. They done turned on a frequency, and you need to protect yourself. As soon as they say summer over with, they turn on that frequency. And see, to all the people, remember words are spells, right? To all the people that say, oh, it's so hot, I can't stand it. You're the one who's initiating that they bring these weapons in to save you. Haven't y'all seen, if you're down south, you done seen winter days that go up to 80 degrees. And then when it get real warm, they come in with a storm through weather technology, right? They come in with a storm or rain to push the heat back down in the ground again so it can't come up. Do you actually think we have lava in the ground and you don't think the heat, you think the heat, what you think the heat, where the heat coming from? The heat is coming from inside the ground. It's like a duo with the sun and the heat. So if we had the moisture covering the whole planet in a fog cycle, in the daytime it's foggy and misty and moist all day. We got all the water we need, right? And at night, the fog go down because the sun down, and you can see the stars and the glow. You can see all the little glowy butterflies and stuff. If they gave us the right proper amount of moisture on this planet, we would be hella telepathic. We would be hella energetic. They can't do it. They cannot run this copper electricity, all these poles and wires with the moisture content that this planet is really supposed to have. They couldn't. They would have to use free energy. Because you would see it. It's literally, I keep wanting to say effervescent, but it's iridescent. It's iridescently everywhere. Iridescent creatures. If we had the proper amount of moisture on this planet, we would be so iridescent on a whole nother beauty perspective, a whole nother beauty spectrum. Nobody would need all these hair chemicals. Okay? So there we have it. Unearth the magic. The truth will definitely set you free. Mwah.